In fact, right now I'm kind of multitasking. I still got work stuff that I'm working on. So right now I have 3 monitors in front of me. So if you see me looking away, that's because probably I have to keep track of work stuff too.
Michael, sir, you're looking wonderful as always. And you're still on mute, so.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm still working on a couple things for work too. It's not been a good time the past couple of weeks, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I guess I shouldn't feel too guilty about this, right?
No, you shouldn't. You'll be all right.
Hi, Shebra. How are you? And
Good, thank you.
that's a nice necklace.
My husband picked it out.
Well, he has good taste. So. And you notice I didn't say hi to Steve Solomon because I don't want to get intimidated by the video. I mean, by the, radio voice right before I'm supposed to start.
Hello, Anil.
See, just that nice booming voice, that says I mean business.
I'm serious.
We have Ruth Harris joining us. Hi, Ruth.
Oh,
Help me change that.
See, when everybody else joins in and we start calling you Ruth, nobody will get the inside joke.
Well, nobody will know who it is. What? So somebody help me out here. How do I change that?
So you have to go to, let me see if I can.
Hey, Lynn, if you go to your right, the top right of your box, there'll be 3 dots. Click on it and it should say rename.
Yep.
Oh, got it.
Or you can do it from the participant list too, but
yeah,
same
I was gonna say that's the one I was gonna suggest too, Jay. But Shepard just taught me a shortcut. I'm using that tomorrow. Yeah. Assumes that I have tomorrow.
Yeah, my legendary tech savviness.
Hey, Steve, the other Steve, how are you?
Hey, Anil. I hear we're live right now. I'm getting responses that you're a hit. So.
Oh.
Yep, this is the forum. This is actually it. People want to see what we're really like. Like, they're all phonies on camera. That's why I don't like. No, this is what they're really like.
Honestly,
oh, crap! I guess I should have paid attention to that recording light on top, right there.
I had not noticed.
Can you all see these clearly, legibly?
Yes.
Our very fancy time tracking signs, 15-second warning, 30-second warning.
Yeah, as long as it works.
We do it right
Check
here.
over here.
Perfect.
All right, so I'm going to mute everybody. I'm going to mute everybody for a minute and we can get started. I have a presentation, super organized over here. We are live on Facebook. I made sure it worked. Took me a couple tries.
Calling from Austin. Am I in the right forum?
Right. There we go. Right. So it looks like some of you did not get muted. So if you could just make sure you're muted. Right. So thank you all for joining tonight. This is the Montgomery County Board of Education Virtual Forum presented by MoCo Local and the LGBTQ Democrats of Montgomery County. I'm very excited to have everybody here. and I want to thank all of the candidates for participating and for joining. Our focus tonight is on LGBTQ issues. I think one of our strengths as a community is our diversity. So I'm excited that so many of you decided to make the choice to join us tonight and participate. My name is Vito Anastasia, and I'm the founder of MoCo Local, which is a hyperlocal news outlet that focuses on connecting residents of Montgomery County with local politics and government. This forum is co-moderated by Samantha Jones, president of the LGBTQ Democrats of Montgomery County. I will move it to her so she can speak a little bit about the club.
Thanks, Vito. The LGBTQ Democrats of Montgomery County we're a club that's dedicated to the well-being of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer people who live and work and study here in Montgomery County. We're a Democratic club, but we're open to all. You can learn more about our club by going to our website, which is lgbtqdemsmoco.org.
Very sorry about my dog. This is live. Well, I wanted to give every candidate a minute or so to introduce themselves, but before we get to that, I just want to thank everybody again. We have 14 candidates from all of the races that are participating. So we have the at-large candidates, District 4 candidates, and a candidate from District 2. This is amazing. I am loving how large the candidate selection is this year, despite some of the divisiveness. This is amazing, and I think all local elections should be this involved. So I want to thank you all for, being moved to run for office. I don't think this is anybody's first choice when they go into politics, but kudos. It's a great honor to even be in the running. So I'm going to give every candidate about a minute to introduce themselves. Before this, we did pre-select the order at random. So you'll get about a minute to introduce yourself. You will also get about a minute to a minute and a half to answer each question. You will receive a warning once you get to an unallotted time. Watch for Sam. At the end of 1.5 minutes, your mic will be muted. Your mic will be muted. So if you run out of time, I will have, I'll make space available on the MoCo Local social media outlets and the website where you can submit, clarifications or additional answers or responses. And then at the end, you will also receive a minute to, kind of close out the evening. So speaking of the candidate order, again, this was randomly selected. So next question, you'll be answering in the same order. So let's get to the introduction. Stephen, if you would like to start.
Am I starting? Sorry. Okay. I was trying to unmute and I was having some problems. Okay, good evening and thank you MoCo Local and LGBTQ Democrats of Montgomery County for hosting this event. My name is Stephen Austin. I'm running for Board of Education at large. I'm a father of 2 MCPS students at our local schools and a finance professional with nearly 20 years of experience in institutional investing. My father was a high school teacher, and I also once worked as a substitute for what it's worth. Hard job. I'm running to bring back transparency, accountability, and true community engagement to the Board of Education. I believe the board has lost sight of these concepts, and I feel it's time to have a parent voice to advocate for this. The board can and should do a much better job of engaging with the community and working with parents and stakeholders as partners in its process. Additionally, it appears that MCPS is going to continue to experience an ongoing budget crisis, unlike any it's faced before. The county and state revenues are being decimated, and I want to bring my expertise to the table to assist in navigating this challenge. I hope to share more details on my platform tonight and gain your support for June 2nd. Thank you.
Stephen Neal, you are up next.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you to MoCo Local and to the LGBTQ Democratic Club. My name is Sunil Dasgupta, and I'm running for the Board of Education here in Montgomery County. I'm a first-generation immigrant and a parent of 3 MCPS students and a professor at a public university in the county. I'm also a community and a PTA leader, having spent a lot of time in and around schools, learning about how they work and how we can help. The first priority of any school leader must be to improve learning outcomes and the well-being of our students, and it is mine as well. The harder question is how we get there. Going forward, we are looking at a post-COVID future of budget cuts, distance learning, unequal access, academic loss, and trauma. These challenges are going to demand tough decisions, and the board must act to bring the county together and along in this period of crisis. Thank you. Did I make it?
I think so. All right, Lynn, you are up next.
Hi, good evening. I'm Lynn Harris, at-large candidate for the Board of Education, and I too would like to thank MoCo Local and the LGBTQ Dems for hosting this forum this evening. I've been an advocate in our school system for the past 10 years, and I now teach in our school system and have a child in the school system. But one of the things I've learned through my years just working in the trenches on all manner of issues affecting our students and our schools is that every single student is unique. And I firmly believe that we need to work to create a school system in which every single student and staff member every single day in every single school feels safe and feels welcome and feels valued being exactly who they are. And we know that our LGBTQ plus students and staff have long been among our most vulnerable. But I've been very encouraged that over the past 2.5 years, particularly led by the advocates, students, parents, allies, our school system has started to make tremendous progress in supporting our LGBTQ students. Everything from LGBTQ forums and the town hall that filled in for the 2nd annual forum, which had to be canceled, and that was held earlier this evening, to looking at all of our codes of conduct, how they are gender neutral, how our data systems are gender neutral and respectful, how our curriculum is fully inclusive. And I hope that we can continue that work no matter what the economic realities facing us come fall, and that we
Thank you, Lynn. Sorry to cut you off. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Shebra.
Good evening. I too want to thank MoCo Local and the LGBTQ Democrats of Montgomery County. I am Shebra Evans. I currently serve on the school board. I am the board president. At the end of my first term, running for re-election on the District 4 seat and wanting to gain the vote and support of all the viewers here today. I currently have two daughters in the public school system, one in the 8th grade at Argyle Middle School and one in the 11th grade at John F. Kennedy High School. I'm running for re-election, so I'm very proud of the work that we've done to close the gaps. And I know that we can continue to do this work under the leadership of Dr. Jack Smith and Deputy Superintendent Monifa McKnight. I'm very committed to equity and excellence, and that's why I'm running again. And I want to ensure that our early learners have high advantages as they walk in the door, and even the playing field for them. And I look forward to hearing the questions and having a further discussion with you all.
Thank you so much. Up next, we have Darwin.
Sorry about that. Thank you, MoCo Local and LGBTQ Dems for hosting this forum. My name is Darwin Romero, and I'm a candidate for Montgomery County Board of Education at large. I am a longtime resident of Montgomery County, having lived in Tacoma Park, Gaithersburg, Germantown, and now in Silver Spring. I am a proud father of 2 boys who attend Montgomery County Public Schools in the Downtown Consortium, and I myself am a product of MCPS, having studied at Tacoma Park Middle School and Montgomery Blair High School. I worked for MCPS as a bus operator and as a parent community coordinator, helping parents navigate the school system, and have personally witnessed the challenges and struggles our students and parents face. I volunteered for several years as a parent tutor in the George B. Thomas Saturday School, and I was a member of the Latino Student Achievement Action Group. Currently, I am a mortgage loan officer, helping families build generational wealth. I'm running to be your next at-large Board of Education member because I know the approach of one size fits all does not work and has not worked, especially for our Black and Brown students. I'm asking for your vote on June 2nd to ensure that all of our students succeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Up next, we have Paul.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Paul Geller, and I am running for an at-large seat on your Montgomery County Board of Education. Since 2012, it has been my full-time passion and volunteer job to advocate for 166,300 students across MCPS. I want to make sure that all student voices are heard. I want to be omnipresent in the community, and I want to make sure everyone feels comfortable coming up to me and telling me whatever it is that is of concern and can be improved in MCPS. I'm a past president and vice president of MCCPTA, and there are 3 main reasons why you should vote for me. First is academics. We have too many students who are graduating who are not college and career ready. I'm going to make sure that that changes. Second, construction. MCPS has not been doing a great job with construction. I'm going to champion renovations in our schools and solar panels atop them. And also, finally, too much standardized testing. I'm going to work with my colleagues at the local, state, and national level to reduce that testing. I ask for your vote.
Thank you so much. Up next, we have Anil.
Hi, good evening, everybody. And first of all, thank you both for hosting. It's a pleasure to be here. I am a parent of 3 children in Montgomery County schools. I'm a first-time politician. I'm running for a seat on the Board of Education as an at-large candidate to improve educational outcomes for every child in the county. I plan to use meaningful data-driven input from all local families, communities, and educators. My inclusive agenda includes parents, community members, educators working together to improve educational outcomes for all children in a very inclusive, equitable, and sustainable manner. And the other thing I'd like to point out is that I'm a child of educators and that I'm also a veteran, and I've spent my life defending those who could not defend themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Anil. Up next, we have Jay.
Hi, good evening, everyone. And thank you, MoCo Loco and LGBTQ Democratic Club for hosting this forum. My name is Jay Guan, and I'm running for the Board of Education at large. I am a devoted father and a husband. I'm also a dedicated community leader and a passionate soccer player. I'm running because I believe that all of our kids should have access to good, quality, future-ready education. I grew up in an immigrant low-income family, and I personally experienced the effects of the opportunity gap. I was fortunate enough to tread that upward mobile path, and I want all of our kids to be able to do the same. Our education system needs to adapt and adjust. The COVID-19 pandemic laid that bare. I think our immediate priority is to explore and determine ways to for safe, effective MCPS operations. Our education system needs to refresh itself so that it can prepare our children to face the challenges and to take advantage of the opportunities in a rapidly changing world. In times of uncertainty and change, we have to have proactive, forward-thinking, prudent, and collaborative leaders at the helm. We also need leaders with global perspective. I am that leader. I'll share with you tonight my perspective and platform and hope to gain your vote on June 2nd. Again, my name is Jay Guan, a candidate for the Board of Education at large.
Great, thank you. Up next, we have Dalvin.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dalvin Osorio. Pronouns are he, him, his. I am a former educator and I'm the current program manager at the Montgomery County Collaboration Council. I oversee our Children with Intensive Needs program and our Pathways office, which is the first point of access in the county for families that need any kind of service or any kind of resource. I taught for 4 years and then I became a case carrying social worker working with foster care youth, unaccompanied refugee minors, domestic violence victims. Every step of my career has been in pursuit of direct service and has been in service of others who maybe don't have somebody that can champion their voices on a scale like this. I'm running for the Board of Education at large because I believe that it's time for us to close the opportunity gap. I believe it's time for us to recruit and retain quality teachers. And I think that it's time for us to foster an environment at MCPS that allows for every student to be successful, no matter what zip code, race, or income level they're from. My name is Dalvin Osorio, and I look forward for you to hear more about my platform tonight. Thank you guys for organizing.
Thank you so much. Up next, we have Montgomery.
Hi, I'm Limpin Thomas, and I am also a proud parent of an MCPS graduating senior. I've been in Montgomery County for 11 years, and I've been a volunteer for 11 years. Ever since my son began second grade, first day of second grade, I began as a classroom parent, reading parent volunteer. And throughout my 11 years, I've held various PTA, PTSA, and PTA leadership positions. I'm currently the president of my son's high school all-school booster club. So I think I'm probably the only candidate who is not an educator who's already invested like thousands of hours of volunteer time into our school system. I work for the Food and Drug Administration. I'm a regulatory counsel, so I'm a policy person. And I, as my predecessors or colleagues have mentioned, I also want to improve the learning outcome for all of our students.
Thank you.
I look forward to our discussion this evening. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Now we have Cameron.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cameron Road, he, him. I went to Lakelands Park Middle School and graduated from Poolsville High School in 2012. So I know firsthand the successes and challenges of Montgomery County Public Schools because I'm a recent MCPS graduate. I also work as a tutor at a small tutoring company here in Gaithersburg where I live. And so I have that perspective of seeing how we can improve. I'm proud to have earned the 100% pro-choice rating from NARAL Pro-Choice Maryland for my commitment to LGBT students and reproductive justice. And my candidacy is endorsed by Delegate Kumar Barve, Delegate Jim Gilchrist, former Delegate Andrew Platt, and former Attorney General of Maryland, Doug Gansler. And I hope to have your support as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Mike.
Oh, I need to unmute myself. Hi, I'm Michael Fryer, and I'm going to direct you to my website, michaelfryer.com, because this is not enough time to kind of introduce myself and give my background. Very quickly, I've got over 30 years in education as a teacher. I taught inner city as well as suburban education. I then went to law school, where while I worked as a social worker for protective services. My first job actually out of law school was with the Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities, which is the oldest civil rights state agency in the United States. But I took a contract with the state of Connecticut because my passion is working with children, protecting and making sure that they are defended both in home as well as in school. I represented children, parents, and teachers in court, as well as in school during hearings, proceedings, and other things. I did stop a school takeover. Actually, I was hired by parents to do that. So I've been across and around the board in a number of different aspects, but always in education. I have 2 children here in Montgomery County school systems that are actually thumping around upstairs because they're a little tired of the quarantine too. I hope everyone is staying safe. And please, again, michaelfryer.com. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Up next, we have Colin.
Okay, good evening. My name is Dr. Colin Sodongo. I'm a parent of 3 children in Montgomery Public Schools. Thank you, MoCo Local and LGBTQ Dance for this organization and facilitation of this sharing. My candidature is based on 3 aspects. We are trying to create a synergy where a board can work as a unit. My background is public policy and administration. I've worked with different functional teams and groups and committees, and I've been in the education sector. I'm a professor at the university teaching intercultural communication. A very short time because we can't introduce ourselves, but I want to emphasize this. I've worked with individuals with developmental disability in designing public policies and education strategies. One of the main challenges that I want to emphasize tonight, we can only realize this by creating a voice to the voiceless. And we must walk the talk by electing a diverse board in terms of skills, in terms of age, in terms of generational transition, so that there can be continuity.
Thank you.
I'm calling upon all of you to support. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Up next, we have Steve Solomon.
Thank you, Vito, and thank you, Sam, for putting this together. I'm Steve Solomon. I'm a candidate for Board of Education District 4. I'm excited to run for office here. This is my 2nd time trying. I'm a lifelong resident of Montgomery County. I'm not looking to shake up everything in this county. I think we do a great job of conducting our education system. I'm just looking to change a couple things. Some of those include making sure we retain the best teachers we possibly can. Too many teachers are leaving MCPS for a variety of reasons. I think we need to expand vocational programs. I worked as a carpenter right out of college. It provided me with a lot of experience. I think we need to teach kids about that in high school. And I think we need all of our schools to be modern, safe, and able to be used by all students. That is more conducive to a learning environment. Again, I'm a candidate for Board of Education District 4. Please visit my website, votestevesolomon.com. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So now we've come to the question part. Before we start the questions, I just want to, we're only able to spotlight one video at a time. Instead of using the sign, Sam is going to go off mute when you have 30 seconds left during your answers, and then when you run out of time. So we're just switching it up a little bit. But on to the questions. All right. One of the biggest concerns for the LGBTQ community is our safety. To that end, what would your priorities be for improving the safety of LGBTQ students? And up next, we have Stephen Austin.
Okay, great. My top priority is to make sure MCPS provides an inclusive and welcoming environment at all times. No student should have to feel singled out or threatened in any way. We need to make sure that penalties for bullying are meaningful and effective at ensuring a safe environment. We need to expand mental health professionals in our schools. We have a current ratio of 1,200 students for each mental health professional, and this is unacceptable. MCPS staff and teachers should also have adequate training to understand the needs of the LGBTQ community. We should also actively recruit LGBTQ teachers who could advocate and be liaisons for welcoming students looking for someone they can turn to as a mentor and an ally. That's what I have. Probably don't need all the time. Thanks.
Thank you. Sunil, you're next.
Hi, thank you for the question. First, to ensure that we reduce bullying of LGBTQ students. And so there is the education side of this and an enforcement side. We have to act fast and quickly on bullying reports. We also probably need some external referral where incidents are serious. Second, I think I would like to look into building gender neutral bathrooms or sort of making those happen. I believe Walter Johnson has some, and we should try to expand. I would also focus on mental health and wellness. And lastly, I think we need some LGBTQ special training for sports programs.
All right, thank you. Lynn, you're next.
Yes, thank you. First, I would like to see us really drill down on the ground in every school and make sure, at the very least, every one of our middle and high schools has an active GSA with a well-known faculty sponsor, so that any student in the school has a safe person that they can go to, even if they're not comfortable at that point in time, being authentically who they are for whatever reason. I think too that we need to double down and we need to redraft and recreate some of our trainings that get to cultural competency and cultural awareness and inclusivity, and not only reinvigorate that training, but weave some of that content into all of our curricular work at age appropriate levels, K through 12. That's the way we start making a positive school climate.
30 seconds.
And that is, I think, essential. And also we need to double down on our work to make every single school truly trauma informed in all of our work, so that we are in fact creating safe spaces for every single student. And that includes spaces where students can go when they feel unsafe.
Thank you. Up next, we have Shebra.
Hi, thank you for that question. I'll say, as a current board member, I'm always committed to the safety of every student and creating a welcoming environment, and that starts with our policies. We currently have a policy ACA, non-discrimination, equity, and cultural proficiency policy, just to ensure right away that no student should be discriminated against based on their gender identity, any personal perceived characteristics. We also have guidelines for gender identity. So these are really important that we have this set in place so that our students know that they can feel comfortable expressing themselves. So our policies are a huge priority, setting that that groundwork immediately for everyone in our system to know that it's important how we treat people. Thank you.
Thank you. Darwin.
Thank you for that question. One of the things that would be my priority for all students, especially the LGBTQ community, is that all of them feel accepted and welcomed in the school system. I believe it's really critical to make all of our students feel welcome when they come through those doors of the school system, and that they are accepted for who they are. And I would also look into making sure that the teachers and administrators recognize and respect the matters of gender identity that our students identify with, and protect student privacy and confidentiality. I think that is really critical and really important, especially for our students, and provide to LGBTQ students equal access and equal opportunity to the programs that MCPS has to offer them. To that end, I would establish a program of respect and civility, because it's not just for the LGBTQ community, but it's also for minorities or people that are perceived different than the current, majority, the population that is in majority. So I would establish some sort of respect, civility program I would also provide professional development for our teachers and our school administrators on how to advocate for our students and social emotional well-being for each of our students in our schools.
Thank you. Paul, you're next.
I think it's of the utmost importance that we make sure that every single student feels safe and comfortable within our buildings. This is paramount. I think we definitely need to have more work around prevention and bullying and harassment. I think this is an ongoing problem. It has been for years. One of the ways that I will tackle this is I will go to our schools and meet with our GSA students, as well as anyone else in the community, and talk to them and find out what the issues are right then and there that they are facing. I will take those back to the board table and I will make sure that we discuss these. This is the same way that I've been doing business since 2012 full time. And as a member of the Board of Education, this will be my full-time job. I have a reputation of listening to people, synthesizing the data, and then moving forward to take swift action to make sure that these issues are addressed. I think we have to make sure that all of our students, especially students who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgendered, queer, and questioning, that they have a voice, that they are listened to.
30
and
seconds.
I certainly will make sure that I am one of the leading advocates for the needs of this community. I also want to make sure that there's more protection for our victims. I have concern about the revisions made to the student handbook a few years ago. I think we can tighten that up a bit. And I look forward to being a conduit for hearing from the community always about issues of importance to you.
Thank you. Anil, you're next.
First of all, thank you for this very important question, right? And what I'd like to preface my answer with is that, you know, safety is not just a LGBTQ issue, it's a every student issue. And I've spent my entire life, you know, in public service, defending the rights of others, you know, especially minorities. I've just spent my record speaks for itself. And what I have always championed and what I have done is in every place where I was a leader, I have set inclusive, welcome, and safe environments for everybody, for every minority, right? For everybody to have a equitable and inclusive experience in my organization. And some of the ways that I have done are to set up structured channels for education, outreach, and enforcement,
30 seconds.
regardless of the type of issue. Because when we don't take care of diverse set of opinions, all we get are echo chambers and we get more hate that than is necessary or needed in our world. And that's definitely not the example I want to set for any child in Montgomery County schools. So thank you once again for this very important question.
Thank you. Up next, Jay.
So I think my priorities will be to strengthen and to streamline the reporting and enforcement policies. So as of this moment, our current bullying reporting policy relies on the victim to report these incidences mainly via Form 230-36. However, as my volunteer experience told me, a lot of families may not be savvy enough to fill out the form, to follow through with the investigation process, and to communicate with the principals of their school. So I think that in the reporting section, we need to make it such that the onus is less on the victim to report these incidences, and we need to determine a way or come up with a way to allow for teachers and administrators to be more vigilant against these type of behaviors, whether it be bullying or hate incidences against anyone. And also we need to create a easier way for teachers and administrators to track these and
30 seconds.
document these type of incidents. One other issue that we should we should focus on is obviously cultural proficiency and awareness training for our staff and also for our student as well. So again, my two priorities will be to streamline and strengthen the reporting and enforcement aspects of anti-hate and anti-bullying policies.
Thank you. Dalvin, you're next.
So I think for starters, I think that it becomes very difficult for our students to feel safe and protected when our teachers and our staff don't feel safe and protected. And one of the questions that I've gotten from voters, even during this time that we've been phone banking and text banking, is what are we going to do for our LGBTQ plus teachers, right? And how are we going to ensure that they feel safe in MCPS? And I think that speaks to a larger issue where we have to work on improving the school climate, right? We have to, invest in our GSAs. We have to identify safe zones. We have to make it so safety is the minimum baseline. As a former foster care social worker, I can't tell you how ingrained that thought is in my brain, that if we don't even clear the basic principle of safety, then we're not doing our jobs. And I think that it's a disservice to all of our students, but in particular our LGBTQ plus students, that they have to fear coming to school, not just because if they report a bullying incident, not because it's a complex system, but then also the fear of retaliation, the fear of somebody coming after them because they reported a very severe incident. And so Jay makes a really good point. We do have to streamline the process, but we also have to make it where we're arming our staff with the tools necessary to report a lot of these incidents. And
30 seconds.
And they need to feel safe reporting them as well. And we've come a very long way, but I grew up I grew up with the death of Matthew Shepard in my forefront when I was 11 years old. And so I find it frustrating that here it is, now I'm running for the Board of Ed and we still haven't made the inroads necessary, but I'm committed to doing a lot of that work if I'm elected.
Thank you. Next one.
Hi there, sorry. So I agree with everything all of the candidates had said thus far. So without repeating, I think something that's also very important, especially in this current political climate with whom we have in the White House, is that we all support like the Equality Act, so that it's not just each county or each state doing implementing these safe schools, safe places, create inclusive classrooms. We need to have it nationally. So I would support the Equality Act. I think we need to ensure safe schools are safe places, because sometimes home is not a safe place for our students who identify as LGBTQ. So creating inclusive classrooms, and also just addressing bullying head on. Thank you.
Thank you. Cameron, you're next.
I agree. We've just heard a lot of great ideas. I think it's important to note for counseling, while it is super important to have adequate staffing in that regard, so just the sheer plain having enough counselors, I agree that's important. But also a big thing is continuity in counseling. So when I was an MCPS student, I was fortunate enough to have the same counselor for all 4 years. But students have said that doesn't always happen. And so having the same counselor for all 4 years of high school is important to them. Sometimes for things like getting a great letter of recommendation for college, but also in things like building trust. Another thing I would like to see is shifting towards just always using pronouns so that the burden doesn't keep being on trans students. I don't think that could happen like overnight, but I think that's a positive shift that we should at least strive for. And another thing is consistently throughout my campaign, I've heard from students that
30 seconds.
Thank you. That from LGBT students, that their concerns aren't always immediately addressed unless a teacher stands with them, whether that teacher is LGBT or not. So the students will go to in-school administration with a specific tangible concern, and it's not always a social concern like bullying. It could be a structural concern. They'll go to in-school administration, and in-school administration will either dismiss it right away or they won't take it as immediately seriously. And so it kind of takes a teacher standing with them. So
Thank you.
yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Michael, you're next.
So this is an issue of being different. And we as a culture in Montgomery County, as I'm finding, have a lot of difficulty with different. For instance, if a student turns around and says, I don't want to go to college, I want to go to trade school, we collectively lose our minds. And in a culture where we want children to walk such a narrow lane, how are we ever going to begin to get to a point where we're accepting of a difference that's critical? So yeah, no kidding, we need to have counseling for LGBTQ plus students, because we can't even deal with the child that doesn't want to go to college without freaking out. So we really, as a culture, as adults, the language I'm hearing, punish, censure, go after, because that is languages that adults use, but we got to let it go. Kids need to be celebrated in their differences. That's where we culturally need to shift, so that when, for instance, my son decides he wants to wear one of his sister's dresses to school, there's not even a moment of hesitation or doubt. It's just
30
what
seconds.
Jack wants to do. And I don't have to be concerned about the reaction at school, because difference is celebrated. But that's going to come from the adults, the parents, and the grown-ups, as well as the kids. We need to change our culture away from that incredibly narrow definition and expectation of children to a broader celebration of difference.
Thank you. Colin, you're up next.
Thank you for the question, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it, because the main problem that I'll do immediately to sort is to destigmatize the advocacy component for the minority group and the LGBTQ group. We've been advocating for individuals and students as if they are victims. So we must create a culture of self-confidence among the students so that they can protect themselves. This notion that comes every time that I'll protect them, protection that comes from self. So I think self-confidence building is very, very critical. Secondly, it's about policy dynamics. As a policy expert, I'm going to start from the known to unknown. So I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. I'll assess which areas that needs to be stepped up in terms of policy and create a robust orientation so that when students go to school, they know their mandate, they know their expectation and their parents and all that, so that there's that uniformity and standard in terms of orientation. That has been a missing link. There are a lot of policies that are underlying that are not being implemented because they cannot be mainstreamed. Everybody doesn't want to actualize them. So the mainstreaming require orientation and also creating self-confidence so that students can be able to protect themselves. And the lastly is the policy of mandated reporting, so that every individual will be a mandated reporter as part of the policy orientation. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Solomon, you're next.
When we talk about how to interact with people, I think MCPS did a great thing just today. They scheduled a town hall just today before this forum for us. So that's a great way to interact with your community. We all talk about idealistic things, but in actuality, what are we doing? And also, bullying to me is also an issue where, are we really listening to the person who was bullied? Does a school want to put this out? They're like, oh, we don't want to be that school that has bullying problems here. Is there any sort of a problem there? We've seen it with perhaps harassment and assault in a football program. Did the school act quickly to address that? Maybe not. So in practice, are we really doing all the things we want? I'm sure we all want almost the same thing here, but is it being done in practice? And if I was a board member, I would make sure it was done in practice as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. We are now about to move into our second question. All right. How will you support the rollout of the LGBTQ course curriculum that was developed and approved to pilot beginning in the next academic year. This was, it faced a lot of opposition in the past, including a controversial lawsuit. So this is something that is still prevalent and might face continuing opposition, but really, this is a very important course because it talks about not only LGBTQ history, but also culture.
Okay. Am I unmuted? Sorry, I think I unmuted myself.
Yep, you're good.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, this is an interesting course, and I haven't really had a chance to review the entire curriculum, but I'm very supportive of the concept, and I'm particularly excited, as you mentioned, about the history part. I went to art school and have a studio art Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from the University of Texas at Austin. And, as a graduate of art school, I know how much how important the contribution of the LGBTQ community has been to enriching art history and so many other areas of society as well. I think that at that age, it is very powerful for a young student to see what kinds of achievements people in their community have reached, and also to understand the horrible history of how people were treated in the past. So I think I look forward to the feedback that comes from this course, and hopefully we can adjust it and make it better on an ongoing basis. Thanks.
Thank you. Sunil.
Thank you. I'm not sure Board of Education members can take courses, but I would love to take it myself. I have asked to review the whatever is publicly available about the course, and absolutely, I would encourage every high school that I visit to adopt it as an elective, and hopefully we can have it offered in every high school. I would encourage also teachers and students and community members to offer new ideas for expanding the curriculum. I also want to say something that I think we should keep in mind, that the social science teacher who wrote this curriculum has been attacked on social media for her work, and I stand with her and support her in every way going forward.
Thank you. Lynn.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I'm so excited that this project to create this first ever LGBTQ plus elective in the country came to fruition very, very quickly because of the work of advocates and students, and because of the relationships that were built with MCPS that made them very suddenly very welcome to a lot of the progress and a lot of the ideas that the LGBTQ advocate community has been pushing for years. I think the way we support it is, first of all, we make sure that the schools that are going to pilot it and are doing a truly excellent job of making everybody aware of the opportunity, making sure that the teachers who are going to teach it feel like they have really had a great opportunity to immerse themselves in that curriculum and really prepare well to teach it. I think we need to be very honest and say at this point, we need to make sure we are ready to deliver that content virtually as well as in a live classroom. And as the curriculum is rolling out and the students are engaged, we really want to make sure that the student advocates through MoCo Pride and through the GSAs in the other high schools are really tuning in to see how that rollout's going, and can really build the brand and the buzz in their own schools and create a real demand for scale up of that that course to be not just in 2 or 3 high schools, but in all 25 within the next 2 years.
Thank you. Shubha, you're next.
Thank you. So I currently serve on the board, and just at our last meeting on May the 12th, it was a unanimous vote to include the pilot elective for the LGBTQ youth. We stand behind our mantra. We always talk about all means all, and this was our way of ensuring that every student could see themselves in our curriculum. The board about twice a year, we have student town halls. We're able to connect with our students, and we heard from our students that they didn't see themselves in the curriculum. And so we're trying to work to make certain that every student is able to see themselves. And so I'm really proud of the work that we're doing here in Montgomery County and working with my colleagues to be inclusive and to make certain that our students can see themselves in the curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you. Darwin, you're next.
Thank you for that question. The reason that I'm running for Board of Education at large is because I believe that we need to serve all of our students, not just a segment or a portion of the student population, but all of them. And that includes LGBTQ students. I'm especially proud that we have students who are actively involved in their different communities, that are actually pushing for legislation, pushing for classes, pushing to be represented and to be seen in the curriculum that MCPS has. I'm aware that Uma Fox, a sophomore of Richard Montgomery, is participating in developing this pilot course. So I'm really excited to see students really engaged in the learning process and in developing curriculum in the school system that they can see themselves in. That's one of the reasons I'm also running for Board of Ed, because I want to increase diversity within the teachers and the school administrators so that they better reflect the student population. Right now, many students do not see themselves in their teachers, do not see themselves in the administrators. They don't see themselves in the curriculum that is being offered to them. So I believe it's really important that as a board member, I advocate for those students, I stand up for those students, and I make sure that their voices are heard and that the MCPS is able to build a curriculum where the students see themselves, are inspired to be the best that they can be, and succeed academically.
Thank you. Paul, you're next.
I think it is terrific that MCPS has put together an inclusive curricula with the help of the community that will educate all of our 166,300 students eventually about the importance of realizing that in this country, our differences are our strength. And this is something that is of paramount importance. Now, as a member of the Board of Education, this would be my first priority that I mentioned earlier, which is the importance of academics. When we roll out such a stellar curriculum, we have to make sure that our educators have the time not only to receive the curriculum, which oftentimes is not as much time as you would actually think, but also they have times to synthesize it and realize the importance of it and how they can best present it to the students in their classroom. This is very important. We also need to make sure that we monitor and survey students who are participating in this program so that tweaks can be made as needed to make sure that the program is truly effectively reaching out to all of our students. And we also need to do the same with our teachers and staff. I look forward to this curriculum being rolled out, and I look forward to all 25 of our high schools having it just as soon as possible.
Thank you. Neil, you're next.
Yeah, so one of the hardest things as a leader I have learned to do is unmute myself. So, that's always a challenge. But as far as, curriculum and the LGBT curriculum in particular, what I want to point out is this effect, we call it the Barbara Streisand effect. The more you try to make something special, the more different it becomes. So what I would do as a leader, and I've done it in the past when I was delivering dignity and respect training in the military in 2000 in the year 2000 to deal with these very issues of acceptance. So it's about acceptance, and how do we get acceptance, for a curriculum across the county without making it something special, something, that becomes different, because that's not what we want.
30
So,
seconds.
and that's really where, I'd focus to make sure that our teachers are sensitized to deliver this curriculum in such a way that is just a part of a normal curriculum. It's not something special. It's not something different. It's not something where folks are taking time and you're getting parents with different beliefs agitated over a big nothing burger. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jay, you're next.
Right. How would I continue to support this pilot curriculum? I think one of the things that we will have to do, since this is a pilot, we will have to have a process to obtain a student and family feedback on the curriculum, and of course, most importantly, we need to find a way to obtain student feedback on the curriculum as they take it. And based on the feedback, we can think of a way to revise and to modify as per their comments. And I think, and I'll echo some of my some of my fellow candidates' comment about making this available as to as many students as possible. I think, in addition to making it available to all of our in all of our high schools, I think we should also consider an online version where this can be taken asynchronously, or not just for students, but also I think for even for the community at large would be extremely helpful. And yeah, that's all I have for that question.
Thank you. Dalvin, you're next.
So one of the things that I did as a social worker with the Latin American Youth Center was myself and 3 of my coworkers created an LGBTQ plus curriculum that we would then implement at an organizational level, because what we found was that the organization and the different departments in the organization didn't have the right verbiage to really work with our LGBTQ youth whenever they'd come into our drop-in center. I think that this curriculum, this pilot, is an exceptional idea. What I would love to see is it be expanded to where it's not an elective, but it's actually part of our core curriculum, because I think one of the things that gets lost is that there is an intersectionality of all of our histories, right? And I think that when we start to parse out things and make them elective, we kind of remove just how integral a part of our history they really are. But for me, I'm committed to supporting the students that both push for this and the staff that develop this. I'm committing myself to investing in professional development around this curriculum, so that way our teachers are armed with the skills needed to be able to teach this at the high level that they're used to teaching all their other subjects. And I think ultimately it's also about working with our administrators and our principals, which I do on a
30 seconds.
I do on a weekly basis at the Collaboration Council, and hearing from them about just what feedback they're hearing from students and what works and what doesn't work. And then we tailor it so that way it's not just an elective, it's an integral part of our MCPS curriculum going forward.
Thank you. Wampong, you're next.
Hi there, thank you. So I'm also excited to hear about the elective, pilot course that we're offering in some of our schools. However, I'm not an expert on this. I just do a lot of research, and then I agree or disagree with the research. However, according to the Human Rights Campaign, they suggest that teachers integrate LGBTQ people in topics that are mandatory, like science, history. So when teachers, so in schools that don't have this elective, where we can, I think our teachers, when they're teaching history and science, they can incorporate, influential LGBTQ individuals who, help in that field, like Alan Turing, I guess he's a computer scientist, and Harvey Milk, who was a politician. So I agree.
30 seconds.
Nice. However, where we can in our required courses, teach about those individuals who made an impact in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Cameron, you're next.
Yeah, this course is deserving of the attention that it's getting, in part because it was developed by both students and teachers, as has been mentioned. So I think the course itself is really great. But as Lampoon just talked about, I would be very interested in advancing exposure to LGBT contributions in various subjects. History and English are the ones that come to mind. So contributions by members of the community to society, just kind of woven into history courses, and reading texts in English class. Maybe increasing the number of LGBT poets and other writers that we see in English classes just throughout the basic curriculum. So yeah, I absolutely agree.
Thank you. Michael, you're next.
So discrimination is something that we unfortunately deal with, but it's a tragically unique class to belong to, that who you are can be a death sentence. So this course and training is critical. It's something that has to happen just to educate the population as to why there's no need to fear, why there is no need to be concerned, and again, the great contributions that have been made by the LGBTQ plus community. So not only should this not be an elective, it should be part, I think, as Dalvin pointed out, of a larger course required, where we actually look at minority groups who have been sidelined and what their contributions are, and not just as a dry history, this is who this name is and this is what they've accomplished, but really as this is a human being who is contributing to society, and the fears and things that you've put on them that don't exist need to be ended. We need to not be afraid of a population just because of something that we believe. So that learning process that could occur in this kind of course, that could be expanded, that could be required, I think is incredibly critical.
Thank you. Collins, you're next.
Curricula development is a very intricate process, and I think it's important to clarify that curriculum is not a storybook. It's not a history. Curriculum is a holistic experience of the students with an intended outcome, either with a channel of certification or with an ultimate goal that is intended for that curriculum. First thing I'll do is to familiarize with the original intention of that curriculum, so that I can inform the team on how to mainstream the curriculum. Part of the challenge we have in Montgomery County is the haphazard implementation of the curriculum, where teachers does not even understand how to do the grading of the new curriculum because they were not prepared about it. So a designed curriculum is only as good as its execution. So my immediate mandate would to familiarize with the curriculum that is being proposed and see how it can be mainstreamed to fulfill its intended purpose. But from a perspective of what I think, it requires more into policy than curriculum. That's my honest opinion as a scholar. It requires to be integrated in the policy formulation as opposed to curriculum. So I would suggest that that is something that I would be interested to deliver, so that the minority groups can understand that they can be involved in the process. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve, you're next.
Okay, so most pilot programs don't roll out this many schools at one time, so it's a very ambitious thing, and I think that's great. And I think what Paul and Jay both said is that we do need to see immediate reaction from students and what they perceive from the class. So that's important as well. And I went to high school 30 years ago. I'm one of the oldsters up here, and I would hope curriculum changes over the years, right? That's only makes sense that the curriculum changes. You'd think, kids know about this. Half of students don't know about the Holocaust. So they had to introduce legislation in many states for it to be taught, so people know about it. You'd think, oh my God, that can't be right, but it is. So obviously I think this is an important thing, and we'll see how it goes with these 10 schools. And if that expands, that's great. So thank you.
Thank you. Working with diverse populations is an important part of being on the Board of Education. What specific experience do you have working with or volunteering for our diverse populations in MCPS? If you don't have any experience working within our communities, what will you do as a board member to learn about our diverse populations? Stephen Austin. Oh, hit the unmute.
Am I unmuted now? Sorry.
You're good.
Is it good? Okay. Yeah, so other than being a lifelong supporter of LGBTQ rights and supportive of friends and colleagues throughout my life, I don't have any relevant experience working or volunteering in the community. As a board member, I'll definitely reach out to advocacy organizations and leaders within the MCPS system and meet with them, hear their thoughts on what I can do to better help the community and provide a voice through the Board of Education. Additionally, I will have an open door policy for any and all students or parents or any members of the community to contact me with their questions and concerns, and just be as supportive as I can possibly be. Thank you.
Thank you. Danielle.
Yeah, thanks. I am a first generation immigrant and part of part of a minority groups that and I think I would, if I made it to the board, I would be the first South Asian Indian on the Board of Education. In my time as a PTA leader, I've been frustrated about the lack of representation, for example, in the PTA, and I've written and spoke about it. In 2018, I established a nonprofit to serve non-English speaking families called, we call it Conexión Escolar, and we translated schools related information for mainly Spanish speaking families. And I worked with students at the Universities of Shady Grove, where I teach, to run this nonprofit, and we've been running it ever since. So I have a very good idea of how to do outreach, especially to minority groups. And I have, and I know that we need to reach these groups in order to be able to govern a really diverse, a truly diverse majority minority school system.
Thank you. Lynn.
Yeah, I've spent the greater part of the past 10 years advocating in our school system as a volunteer, mainly through PTA and the Montgomery County Council of PTAs. And through that work, I have partnered with so many powerful advocates, students, teachers, staff members, community members, families. And every time I've partnered with a group on an issue, they have enriched my understanding of their reality, their truth, and how they see our school system, and helped me to see our school system in a much more 360-degree way outside the bubble of my own experience. When I was MCC PTA Vice President for Advocacy for 3 years, my passion is helping people learn more about issues they care about and learn to speak to the issues they care about and understand that it's both easier and more important than they think to
30 seconds
issues they care about. And when I became MCC PTA president, I really and truly made it a priority for us to partner very strongly with our student leaders and help them to realize the power of their own voices and speaking to their lived experience in our schools and the things that they see that need to change and the ways they see and know that we can become a better school system. And that's my volunteer experience, thousands of hours over 10 years, every issue you can name.
Thank you. Shebra.
Sure. So I currently serve on the board, so I definitely have the opportunity to work with a lot of diverse groups. But even prior to being on the board, I was a education advocate, served at the PTA level, at the local level and the county level as well. So I had a lot of opportunities to work with a lot of our families and talk with our students. But I will say this, because of the diversity of the organizations that I've worked with, people do reach out to me. And I will say very early on in me getting on the board, my first term, David Fishback reached out to me and had me come to an event for PFLAG. So that is parents of students that are LGBTQ. So that kind of helped me to get more familiar with parents who were trying to understand and better able and be better able to support their students. And so I still continue to get their quarterly newsletters. That helps inform me as I work on the board. So just had the opportunity even prior to being on the board to work with our diverse communities, and really happy and fortunate to live in Montgomery County. We are very diverse. Thank you.
Thank you. Darwin, you're next.
So in terms of working with diverse communities, I am from a diverse community. I have worked with many different people from different backgrounds, from different cultures. I embrace all of these people. They're my friends. I enjoy being with them. And I think that's one of the things that I've done throughout my whole life. And for the last several years, I've actually been working with different students in diverse settings and diverse students. So one of the things that I've done is worked with the George B. Thomas Saturday School as a parent volunteer. I've helped many students in mathematics, which is where I've got a bachelor's degree in mathematics and economics, and that's where my passion is. I've always enjoyed working and teaching mathematics to our students. And so I volunteered there for several years at the Wheaton High School, helping students from all over the world. And I really enjoy meeting them. I enjoy working with them. And I enjoy teaching them what I know. And I enjoy seeing them understand the concepts and the ideas that they may not fully understand. I've also been a member of the Latino Student Achievement Action Group, where we've advocated for the Latino student voice to be heard, the parent voice to be heard. And I've also worked as a parent community coordinator at an elementary school, where I help parents navigate the complexities of our school system, and for them to have access to the resources that the school system provides to them and their children. So I've worked with the community for many, many years, and I hope to continue working with them as your next Board of Ed member at large.
Thank you. Paul.
My specific experience working with the diverse populations in MCPS is extensive. It goes well beyond my 4 years on the executive committee of MCCPTA. I'm very proud to be a member of the Black and Brown Coalition for Educational Equity and Excellence. I was invited by the leaders to join because they wanted to do the best by all of our students to make sure that we have academic excellence for all. And that is the bottom line here. It's the academics that we have to consider, making sure that everyone is getting what they need, making sure that they feel included, inclusive, and encouraged. As far as other organizations, I've been a very proud booster of building our network of diversity, which is a group of predominantly male African-American educators that encourages them not only to stay in the profession, but encourages them to encourage others to be in the profession as well. I attend many NAACP Parents Council meetings, and I'm one of the biggest boosters of the NAACP Act So program. And I encourage everyone out there to watch America's Got Talent and see one of our wonderful students, Kelvin Dukes, perform. Pride of Montgomery County. I've worked with Community Reach of Montgomery. I've worked with individual families of special needs students, especially at Longview and Carl Sandburg Learning Center. I've done significant advocacy for people wanting arts programs in their schools and building them from the grassroots up.
Thank you. Anil.
Thank you. I'm for reference, like Sunil, I'm a first generation immigrant. I'm also a combat veteran. So, they're living all across the United States. I've experienced being different almost my whole life, right? And on a personal level, the kind of causes I work on are supporting veteran causes, especially suicide in veterans. Also mentoring recent minority college grads, because I think everybody needs a positive leadership role model that can help them achieve excellence, that they understand the norms of a workplace. I also work with organizations that help South Asian women who are in abusive relationships. So and MCPS specifically, I have 3 daughters, so most of my support goes to those type of organizations that support girls in science, such as First Lego
30
League and
seconds.
robotics, and Girls on the Run, where they teach them self-confidence. And I'd like to close by saying I'm no stranger to inclusivity and equity, because I live it every day, and I see myself supporting the LGBT community as I would every other minority community within the school system, to ensure that everybody has an inclusive, welcome, and safe experience in school. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jay.
So I think I serve and advocated for immigrant communities in my capacity as a volunteer with the Chinese American Parent Association and also the Asian Pacific American Student Achievement Action Group. I also volunteer for the ESOL bilingual advisory committee within MCPS. I think one of the lessons that I learned from these experience is that the common notion that so-called socioeconomic class would alleviate language and cultural barriers, that notion is false. So in my volunteering experience, I realized that um, your socioeconomic class may help only a little bit to alleviate some of these barriers. But however, for a lot of first generation immigrants, language and cultural barriers are still pretty insurmountable. Um, so as a board member, I would certainly work with our community partners within our diverse student population to learn more about the community. And also, I think one of the
30 seconds.
one of the things that MCPS is doing in terms of outreach to these so-called hard to reach communities, we have to go to these communities and build a relationship. Uh, Publishing materials in various languages are fine, but um, many of our immigrant and hard to reach populations may have problem understanding the significance of these information, how to act upon these information. So it is we need to take it upon ourselves to go to these communities and engage them in a way that is culturally sensitive and is in a way that fosters trust and build that relationship. And only in that way can we have a two-way conversation and discussion and have genuine engagement with some of our immigrant and
Thank
with
you.
our immigrant and diverse populations.
Thank you. Dalvin.
So I'm the son of an immigrant mom, right? She raised me herself, product of a single parent household. In terms of MCPS, I work directly with Steve Neff and Everett Davis, who oversee 2 different departments in MCPS. I also work hand in hand with the PPWs, who send us a ton of referrals to the Collaboration Council. And it's, students who, may need something as simple as a Spanish speaking tutor, and we're able to connect the students and families with that. And then maybe something as complex as an out of home placement, because the mental health needs of that student are so far beyond the capabilities of any of our parents. Jay mentioned something that I think honestly hits the nail on the head in terms of going into these communities. I've been in these MCPS communities. I've sat there and I've spoken with parents, because it's not just a level of maybe not comprehending what the information that they're being provided, but it's also there's a lack of trust, I think, with immigrant families and systems that they feel like they've continuously been let down. And I think it's on us as board members to rebuild a lot of that trust. I think that ultimately at the end of the day, I can't shake being a man of color.
30 seconds.
I can't go and take it off and say, okay, I'm no longer a man of color. It's something that I wear every day. And I think that that builds some credibility with the communities. But at the end of the day, my resume speaks for itself because it's something that I've done consistently in my career. But we have to do a better job of rebuilding the trust between the board and the community. And I think I'm well suited to do that because of my current experience.
Thank you. Wampong.
Hi there. So like many on the panel, I was also kind of born into, this group because I was, I didn't have a choice, right? So I was actually born in Thailand, and I moved to the States when I was 3 years old with my family. And back then in the 70s, I'm probably dating myself, when an immigrant came to the States, they did not want you learning another language or speaking your home language. They only insisted that you spoke English. So therefore, sadly, even though I was born in Thailand, I only speak English. But my experience, I think because of my upbringing, that's why I volunteer where I can. So again, I've been PTSA president, vice president. I'm an all-school booster club president. And at our high school, we support not only sports, but all student clubs and activities.
30 seconds.
To work with the LGBTQ organization at our school. And I, as a parent volunteer, I volunteer with a Minority Scholars Program with my son, because that's, a very good program. So there are many opportunities I think that we have, that we can engage, our minorities, our diverse student population is just having the time commitment to do it. And I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Cameron.
Like Paul, I'm a card-carrying NAACP member, and I've volunteered with the NAACP at both the national and local levels. In 2013, I began to identify as a member of the LGBT community, and I came out as bisexual on Halloween 2013, because let's face it, what's scarier than a bisexual politician? In 2014, since 2014, I've been heavily involved in LGBT issues, both at UMBC and in Montgomery County. So whether that's rallying and lobbying for the Fairness for All Marylanders Act, which added gender identity and expression to the state's non-discrimination laws, or volunteering with Free State Justice, just in several ways. Like I said, both at UMBC, where I got both my bachelor's and master's degrees, and here in Montgomery County since 2014.
Thank you. Michael.
So I do some volunteer work at Shepherd Pratt, go Shepherd. They actually have a tutoring program for kids, and they found that when the parents were coming in or guardians were coming in to drop the kids off, they were just kind of sitting and waiting because it's a few hours. So they created an ESL class for the adults, and I taught before this nonsense. I taught in that class. I have done some other volunteer work also locally. One of the groups that is not always recognized, I graduated high school when I was 15. I was a gifted and talented kid growing up. It would have been great to have a gifted and talented school. We just had that one day a week program when I was a kid. And I am a member of Mensa. So I find that I have gravitated towards working with kids who are disconnected because of the level of intelligence. They are exceptionally intelligent and find difficulty in connecting with every day. That said, my first job teaching was in an elementary school teacher, inner city in Bridgeport, one of the poorest cities in the United States. My legal practice, I did not take private clients. I either wrote grants or looked for state money or state contracts and represented kids. And one of the issues with kids who are involved, particularly in child protection issues, is it's never as simple, particularly when there's poverty. So I was involved doing immigration work. I was doing housing discrimination work.
30
I was
seconds.
doing labor in order to work with the parents to try to make sure that they were protected. So 30 years of essentially working with at-risk impoverished populations But I've never turned anyone down. If someone decided they needed help or assistance and it was something I could volunteer to work with them to do, I did. And as again, I mentioned, I was actually the curriculum manager for the Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities, which is the oldest state. Thank you.
Thank you. Collins.
My track record for working with different function of committees and boards, I can't say all of it here, but I'll just make two key highlights. I've served in several boards and panels at both local and international level. And within the Montgomery context, in the 2017-2018, I was one of the grant panelists for the Montgomery Coalition for Adult English Literacy, MECELA, where we oversaw the award for the grants for the local organizations that are supporting English as a second language. I've also served in the PTA with the local schools, and currently, before running, I was one of the cluster coordinator for the Penn branch. Now, in a nutshell, my experience in those platforms have taught me that it's about humility, it's about service. So I might not really, this time is too short to highlight all that I've served, but I've served in various committees, including people with mental health. I've also served as a consultant with various organizations like the ARC, the Linwood Center, which are implementing programs for the autism, both as a consultant, as a program manager. So I'm looking forward to be part of this team so that we can share our experience and skills, so that at least there could be that uniformity and common understanding of minority and the LGBTQ as one of the existing groups. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Solomon.
Well, I think we're all here because it's for the money, right? We're all running for the board for the money and the fame, right? No, I think we're all here because we are advocates for good things for our community and our schools and our kids. That's why we're all doing it. I didn't mention at the top, but I'm also a father of 3 rescue dogs, and I've spent much of my time doing dog rescue and issues involving dogs and cats. So that's where I've spent much of my time. I've also volunteered, and I'm on boards and committees here in Montgomery County on various issues. I've been on the radio as a podcast and radio host, talked to thousands of Montgomery County residents over the years. So, and a lot of these faces I see here, I've seen at tons of community and civic events here in Montgomery County over the years. So I'm not going to put my record against anyone else's, but we're all running for this to help our community. And I certainly hope that's the biggest point for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. So in schools with gay-straight alliances, students are 52% less likely to hear homophobic slurs, 36% less likely to fear for their personal safety, and 30% less likely to be victimized. What kind of support would you be willing to offer GSAs and their sponsors? Stephen Austin.
Okay, sorry, I have to switch back and forth on my screen, so I get muted and I can't unmute. So as a board member, I would support the alliances in the schools. I think they're great ideas, to provide support for the LGBTQ community, and to just sort of foster an environment of mutual understanding. As I said on another question, I think I'll have an open door communication and encourage members of the clubs and sponsors to reach out and have discussions about how I can facilitate their work. If there's ideas to improve the effectiveness of their outreach, I'll be very attentive to that. And I'll also commit to meeting with any of the alliances in person to hear their ideas or concerns. I support the clubs, and I think want to be a partner to make them as
30 seconds.
Excellent as possible. And additionally, I think they can provide solid input to the administration to improve the policies of MCPS as it relates to the LGBTQ community. Thank you.
Thank you. Sunil.
So I would make sure, I would call every principal, high school principal and every middle school principal to make sure that they are in fact supporting a GSA in their school. I would make sure that where GSAs exist, the school administrators are supportive and that club funding is available for GSAs and their sponsors. I think it is also time to celebrate the work that GSAs and sponsors do where it is possible and where it can be done without mitigating privacy concerns.
Thank you. Lynn.
Yeah, I think first of all, we want to make sure that the Office of Student Leadership in MCPS is actively supporting MoCo Pride as sort of that umbrella organization, totally student driven, totally organically student created. That's mission is solely to support the creation and sustaining SGAs in all of our middle and high schools. And as Sunil mentioned, we would want to make sure that we have adequate support for GSAs and their sponsors. And if we are going to be in a time of distance learning, we want to make sure that we're also supporting their ability to gather virtually with whatever platforms are necessary to make that happen in a school sponsored way. I think we want to also make sure that we're realizing that many of our MCPS media specialists are true lions when it comes to supporting our LGBTQ students and staff. And
30 seconds.
Are safe spaces. So working to make sure that our GSAs, GSA sponsors, GSA student leaders are also connecting with their media specialists is another way that we can ensure that students feel safe engaging with in the work of those groups, even if maybe they don't feel otherwise safe being fully who they are yet. And that's just a start. Lots of other things that we need to do.
Thank you. Shebra.
Yes, so we currently have GSAs in all of our high schools and many of our middle schools. So just continue to provide them with the support that they need to ensure that the middle schools that do not have GSAs, what do they need to get that set up? But most importantly, just be able to connect them to outside resources. There are plenty of partners that are outside of the school system that can help our students with their community building and so on and so forth. So just making certain that they're connected with the various partners here in Montgomery County, as well as they have the resources within their school buildings. Thank you.
Thank you. Darwin.
So one of the ways that I would support GSAs and their sponsors is by, number one, increasing diversity within our teachers and school administrators. We need to have teachers and administrators that reflect the student population, that reflect the LGBTQ student population in our schools. We also need to, I also will build alliances and strategic partnerships with the community that will give our students those real world experiences that they need and to gain real world experience with our community partners. That's definitely one of the things that I would be looking at as well, building those alliances and building those strategic partnerships with our community to help our GSAs and sponsors. And also one of the things is just create opportunities for them, be able to have different events within the school system that celebrates the diversity, that celebrates the different cultures, that celebrates the different backgrounds in our schools within our own LGBTQ community. So definitely that's one of the things that I would do to support the GSAs and the sponsors.
30 seconds.
To see how the community can become involved in supporting these students and how they can be part of the whole school system, not just separate from the school system, but actually include them in the events that the school has and celebrate them for who they are. Put them in books, put them in storytelling and videos and movies where they need to be front and center.
Thank you. Paul.
When we talk about what kind of support we can provide to our GSAs and their sponsors, I think that one word summarizes how I feel about that. and it's unlimited. You know, we are here to serve you. I've been very fortunate to have a wife who said to me years ago, she's like, I want you to spend time with our kids. And I grew up in a single parent family, and my mother worked very hard and was an advertising executive long before women were advertising executives in any number. And I know the importance of being able to listen to people who have issues. And one of the favorite things that I did in my 4 years as an MCCPTA executive committee member was I would often be invited to attend school meetings, attend just group conferences with parents or students who wanted to get the ear of someone who they deemed to be, you know, an elected official in some capacity. And I would sit down and listen to them, hear what they had to say. And I found that 95% of my job on MCCPTA was listening. And the other 5% was thousands of
30
hours
seconds.
of hard work, making sure that we got the aggregate issues addressed for our students, which always comes back to academics. We want to make sure our students have the best. And I feel that when it comes to GSAs and their sponsors, I will be more than welcome the opportunity to come to meetings at individual schools. I've been to all 25 of our high schools. I've been to over 130 of our schools so far, and I continue to do so.
Thank you. Anil.
Thank you for the question. So what I'd like to start off by saying is that I'm running on a platform of inclusive equity. And what that really means is the golden rule in practice is that we want to treat everybody the same, that we're not carving out these special privileges for special groups, right? Everybody gets the same opportunities in an equitable way. So what that means specifically to your question is that I would ensure as a board member that GSAs are given the same exact equitable access that we give all our clubs and associations. So that means that principals don't have this arbitrary and capricious way to say, just because I don't believe in GSAs, I won't allow a club to flourish. Or certain community members say, you know what? In
30
our
seconds.
community, we don't like GSAs. So that's not going to happen. I will ensure that GSAs are given the same equitable access as every other club and association. And that is exactly what I stand for. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jay.
So I think that I'll echo some of my fellow candidates in saying that we need to ensure our administration, local school administration we need to make sure that they're indeed supporting the GSA by providing the adequate funding and also facility for them to meet and to organize. Two other things that I would advocate for to support the GSA is for the local school administration to come up with a way to set up a regular listening session with the GSA and also find ways to obtain inputs and incorporate these inputs from the GSA on their decision making in all of their decision making process. Also, we need to I think the school administration can do more to help recruit and obtain recruit members for the GSA to expand their reach and also obtain feedback. So to summarize, we need to ensure that the administration is indeed supporting the GSA in terms of funding and facilities. We need to set up a regular listening process, and also we need to find ways to integrate
30 seconds.
integrate the GSA more into the decision process. And of course, we need to help recruit and obtain feedback from the student body as well.
Thank you. Galvin.
So I think first and foremost, the one thing that I would do is speak to our students on the ground to make sure that they have not received any resistance from administration because they wanted to start a GSA. Have they had administration put hoops in their way that they have to jump through in order to be able to do this? Because one of the things that we did when I worked at LAYC was we partnered with Land Illegal to make sure that wasn't happening in DCPS, because that is illegal. You cannot do that. I think one of the things that we do a lot of at the Collaboration Council, the words right there, collaboration. but we do a lot of strategic partnerships. I'm incredibly fortunate to be working with the Safe Center on expanding resources here in Montgomery County for our youth who are at risk of being sexually trafficked. And I think using that natural resource building is something that I think is beneficial for this specific role and this specific question. I think the other part of it also is expanding the reach of GSAs. I think that one of the things that we constantly get into this habit of is we talk about diversity, but diversity doesn't mean anything without inclusivity. And until we absolutely ensure that every student feels
30 seconds.
included in the process, then I think we're just paying it lip service. But it's just a continuation of the work that I've done. It's building strategic partnerships, utilizing those to be able to ensure that all of our students feel safe, heard, and valued at our schools.
Thank you. Wampong.
Hi, thank you. So I again agree with what the other candidates have said, but I think also in supporting GSAs and sponsors, I think kind of alluded to this earlier, but we need to make sure that we create an inclusive school climate at all our schools. And to do that, there are 4 things that I would want to look at. Policy, review the rights of LGBTQ students and the policies addressing bathroom, locker rooms, sports, sex education, and more. Look at the instruction, discover strategies for integrating LGBTQ perspective into curriculum, like I mentioned earlier. The classroom culture, where we can maybe learn and share best practices for making all students feel welcomed, and learning how to facilitate conversations, speaking up against bullying behavior, and just, I guess—
30 seconds.
Oh, thank you. And then also family and community engagement, to come up with ideas and ways to address, maybe community pushback. Thank you.
Thank you. Cameron.
Delvin mentioned Lambda Legal, and I think I still have my Lambda Legal drawstring bag, even though I changed permanent addresses just a few weeks ago. Yeah, I think one of the big things here is for sponsors. We keep mentioning the sponsors, but making sure that the sponsors are effectively sponsors and not just sponsors on paper. So that they have the strong ties with the group and are actually leading them. I think that starts with having teachers who are eager to sponsor, who are eager to do this work, and they don't need to be out teachers. They don't even necessarily need to identify as members of the community, but just continuing to recruit and to retain teachers who are eager to keep up this work.
Thank you. Michael.
So I'm a constructivist. So anything that is student run, student organized, student led is fantastic. And there should be more of it. To piggyback off a little bit of what Cameron brought up, as a teacher, I'll tell you, it's tough with your time demands and everything else to coach or to sponsor. And I made sure as a teacher every year I sponsored or coached a group or a team. As a matter of fact, I built a technology group in middle school that actually the kids fought in order to tape record Board of Education meetings, and 11 and 12-year-olds that were fighting over 3 hours of watching these meetings and recording them, because that's how much fun we had. And that really is what the organizations should be about, is a coach really engaged with the group. But the reality is that not all organizations, while they should be treated equally, are equal. Some are fun. They're easy to fill. Some are, deemed as kind of a credit, like the yearbook, in the newspaper. But this is a critical organization because it
30
serves
seconds.
a number of capacities that other clubs don't. It serves as a safe space for students in order to gather and talk. It serves as a protected, and it also serves as an education opportunity for other students. So while yes, all organizations by students are great, and yes, they all should be treated equally, we do need to make sure that the really hypercritical ones, such as this one, are protected and made sure that they move forward.
Thank you. Colin.
Thank you for the opportunity. First of all, group dynamics demand that as a board member at large, my role would be very simple. Create an environment of inclusivity through creating a platform where individuals can tell their own stories. For a long time, we've been telling people stories on their behalf, which has created a lot of distortion among the minority groups. Part of the prerequisite that I'll ensure that the board adopt is to create a platform of support where individual members can decide what they want to do, how they want to do it, and when they want to do it, so that we become just builders of synergy. We need to be catalysts. As board members, we'll just be mere catalysts to make sure that people realize their potentials. So I'm running on a platform of building synergies, so that even the board will be working as a unit. It's not going to be my agenda. So lastly, my main construct will be the we concept, not I. So
30 seconds.
I'll be perpetuating the concept of we. So as a board, we will be achieving as a we, not as I. So that is my main drive, and hopefully I get the support to realize this, this vision for the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Solomon.
Well, school groups and clubs are vital, and as well are all extracurricular activities. It's proven everywhere that people who are more involved and feel welcome somewhere are better students. And I think Montgomery County has done a great job. As we said, all 25 high schools have a GSA. I don't know how many counties have every school have one. It's good when all of them do. And as Michael and Cameron also said, yes, teachers have a lot on them already. It's hard to give them something else. And that's one of the issues I have, is so many teachers feel pressure internally and externally that they leave, and we don't retain our best teachers. And a group like this would be able to find a great faculty mentor. That's everything. Any club that has great faculty mentors advising them is very important. And we've seen in Montgomery County government that public-private partnerships help both sides. It's the same thing with Montgomery County Public Schools. If there's involvement with the GSAs with MoCo Pride
30
or
seconds.
LGBTQ Dems or any other group in the county, that can strengthen them as well. So all those things can contribute to support of GSAs. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Question number 5. Not all teachers and staff or members of the Board of Education have sensitivity and or bias training. How would you support or improve sensitivity or issue awareness training? Stephen Austin.
Okay, thanks. So I would support all teachers and staff to take sensitivity training courses. It's important to make sure the staff understands the issues and concerns of the LGBTQ community. Since this is a very dynamic space, I think this training should be renewed periodically. To improve the training, I think it's important to hear feedback from the staff who participate and from the LGBTQ community itself to ensure the training is impactful. I particularly want to ensure that teachers are fully trained to deal with bullying and make sure that we provide safe spaces for students. I was bullied in middle school pretty incessantly, actually, and I know how damaging that can be to a young student. I had nowhere to turn, unfortunately, at that age. So I'm glad that MCPS is working to make sure that our students do. So I fully support providing
30 seconds.
Those protections and safe spaces for all students. Thank you.
Thank you. Sunil.
Thank you. There are 2 parts to this. I think there is one community part to this, and one is in-school part to this. I think the new course is a fantastic step forward in improving sensitivity. Perhaps I think apart from students taking it, some version of it could be made available to staff and parent academies in the future. I think we also really need to involve the community, and especially students, in any training that we devise. I know that students were involved in making of the new LGBTQ course that was just approved by the BOE. And that's a good model for how we should organize our training. I think there is and lastly, of course, to make sure that all our curriculum is inclusive across the board. That I think has the longest term impact. Thanks.
Thank you. Lynn.
Yeah, as an MCPS teacher myself, I have taken all of MCPS's current implicit bias, diversity, inclusion, cultural competency trainings, and they're good, but they need to be redone. And I really do think they need to be done in partnership with the students whose lived experience in our schools every day needs to really inform the content of that training. Yeah, we need evidence-based best practices for what we're delivering, but we need the student perspective for how we interpret that. I think too, that content that we are delivering as training to our teachers and staff members needs to be included in age-appropriate ways in all of our K-12 curriculum. We cannot start early enough to make everything we do completely inclusive and accepting, and that's how you make a space safe for anybody to be their authentic selves in that space. I think too, our work around trauma-informed practices needs to really be scaled
30
up.
seconds.
And again, I think there should be a curricular component of that as well, because that is getting to the heart of what each of us can learn about supporting every other one of us in our school spaces, and to make us feel safe in our school and able to engage in learning in the job of our schools when we're in those spaces. So that's a start. We need to do more.
Thank you. Shebra.
Yes, so I'll start off by saying that one thing that our leadership has done a little bit differently, they have attended a conference called Time to Thrive, and it's a national conference that they attended so that they can be better informed in how to support our LGBT community, which will in turn inform the training modules that our Equity Initiatives Unit is really great at trying to deliver training. And at this Time to Thrive conference, they took our students as well so that they can come back and to share. So I think what was helpful is to go to places where large gatherings of people trying to get a better understanding of how best to support the LGBT community. And that's a great start in helping our system to be able to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Darwin.
So one of the ways that I believe we can support our LGBTQ student population in an MCPS, specifically the sensitivity training or issue awareness, is developing a program of respect and civility. I think it's important that our students understand from the very beginning the value and the importance of respecting others and respecting others' beliefs and differences and celebrating those differences. So one of the things I would do is definitely develop a program from where students can start from K through 12 and understand that we need to respect one another, that we need to be civil with one another, and that we're all in this together, that we're all humans, and that we may think differently, but we have a common goal. So one of the things I would definitely focus on is on respect and civility, and support those programs of sensitivity and issue awareness. I would also provide professional development training for our teachers and our staff, school staff. I think it's very important
30 seconds.
And that our students want to be able to connect with the greater community, that they're not isolated, that they're actually part of the community, school community, and that we highlight their efforts and highlight what they're doing in the school system. So that's one of the things I would definitely focus on to bring awareness to our school system.
Thank you. Paul.
Right now in MCPS, we have a terrific program in place called the Minority Scholars Program. And one of the leaders of that is a blessedly gifted educator, Michael Williams. And in this program, students get together in their schools and they discuss some of the injustices they've faced. Now, I had heard about this program. I had talked to students individually. However, at the NAACP Parents Council kickoff this year, we were very fortunate in that anyone who wished to do so could actually attend a meeting of our MSP students. And I have to tell you, it was heartbreaking hearing the stories of students who had received such slights as being told that their accent made them less of a student. This is by MCPS staff. Other students who were picked on because of what they were wearing, their clothes. Obviously, this applies to the LGBTQ plus community as well.
30 seconds.
I want to make sure that we have programs that are culturally sensitive and attuned to the needs of every community so that we all learn the importance of accepting our differences, realizing that this is a real gift to the whole community, and realizing that we all have great contributions to make and we need to encourage each other. And I'm very proud to be in this group of 13 candidates because, as you've heard, candidates have referred to each other and we support each other, and that's the way it should be.
Thank you. Anil.
Thank you. Thank you for this question. So I've been a public servant all my life, and I've been, in the military for 10 years during my formative years of my life. And the short answer to this question is lead by example. So the first thing I would do to support or improve sensitivity training is take it myself in a public setting so everybody could see me taking it, right? And then I would take what I've learned and go back to the community at large, every single high school, every single middle school, to talk about what I have learned and what biases that I had that now I am questioning. And that's exactly what I did when I had to implement dignity and respect training in the military in the 2000s, when we were dealing with these similar issues of LGBT inclusion in our armed forces. Thank you.
Thank you. Jay.
Right. I would certainly support the sensitivity training and issue awareness training. I think that MCPS has made available a lot of these implicit bias trainings, and some of them are mandatory. So, but I think also we need to make it such that it is available to more than just MCPS staff. I think it is important for the community to have access to that type of training as well. One of the things that as I was advocating for a cultural proficiency training for APA communities, one thing I realized is that there is a huge training load upon our teachers. Over the summer, the teachers have a lot of trainings that they have to go through, and I think we need to determine ways and explore ways for to make it such that our teachers can make it more accessible to our teachers, but also make it such that it doesn't become a overbearing burden
30 seconds.
for our teachers as well. So there's a balance in between the two, but I think at the end of the day, accessibility to these trainings are key, and not just for our MCPS staff, but also our community as well.
Thank you. Dalvin.
Yeah, so I think one of the first things that you need to do if you're going to implement any kind of sensitivity training is you need to lead by example yourself. I think it starts with us at the top, right? And as elected officials, and we're all running to be elected officials, I think that if we set a tenor of divisiveness and anger and ignorance and bigotry, I think it becomes much more difficult for anybody in the community to take us seriously if we're the ones that are slinging mud at each other or across the aisle, so to speak. So I think it starts there. I think it starts with us modeling that behavior that we want to see in our students, our administration, and our communities. I think the other part is that there are a ton of evidence-based models across the country that directly deal with bigotry and insensitivity and unconscious and inherent bias. And I think we start by calling these things out, implementing using evidence-based models that absolutely attack the root of this, because I think one of the things that we constantly find whenever we have these difficult conversations is that there's folks that'll sit there and they'll say, well, oh no, I don't see color, or I'm not a bigot, I don't have a racist bone in my body. And what that does is that sets us up for failure, where we need to really have these very real conversations, because we can never address the inherent bias and the implicit bias if we do not accept what it is. And I
30
think
seconds.
Start doing that, and we need to foster an environment where those very real conversations can happen. But I keep coming back to it. It starts with us. It starts with, if we want our communities to model this behavior, we need to do it ourselves. Otherwise, it's the blind leading the blind at that point. And that's something that I'm committed to doing if I'm elected.
Thank you. Antoine.
Hey there. So again, I agree with what's been said regarding supporting our educators, teachers. We need, to ensure though that the training that we do ask them to attend is, I guess, still impactful. So I would, I guess, require that our teachers can take the continuing professional development regarding sensitivity training, because again, as just mentioned, there are biases, whether consciously or subconsciously. And then also, I would just I want our teachers to and I think they, well, in my experience, they're really good though at stopping bullying, and just so we just need to make sure, I guess, across the board that our educators, teachers, staff, everyone, anyone who
30 seconds.
Thank you, witnesses any type of bullying, call it out for what it is, and and that it's not going to be stood for. So I also would like MCPS to continue to implement standards that require inclusive, comprehensive, and evidence-based curricula. Thank you.
Thank you. Cameron.
Yeah, I like the idea of a couple of us had mentioned I like the idea of lead by example, as in whoever is elected taking the training. And so there's that form of lead by example, but there's also the form of lead by example of like the administration, the in-school administration. So it's not just the Board of Education, but the administration in these different schools. And this connects to what I was saying earlier about being responsive to the concerns of LGBT students and teachers, because we can give all the sensitivity training we want, but if we're sending, we, meaning the in-school administration, if we're sending a different message with how we handle concerns of students and teachers, then it's not as effective as it could be. So we need to be very consistent with that message to have the implicit match the explicit.
Thank you. Michael.
So I don't care how emotionally intelligent you are or empathetic you may be, sensitivity training just does not hurt. This is reality. It's only good. Unless it is death by PowerPoint. There is ineffective training. I'll tell you, the Washington Council of Lawyers does it right. When they bring in a group of volunteers who are going to be working with a population that they may never been exposed to and are anxious about, how are they going to relate or what are they going to do? Well, they bring them in for a full day training. And what they do is they gather the volunteers into a group in the middle and they pass out identities. You are going to be a Hispanic woman who is a parent of 3. You are going to be a Black male in his mid-20s who just got out of prison. And they give them these identities. And then around the outside are those of us playing roles as payday lenders, we're banks, we're job applications, we're actual jobs. And they have to try to balance their time and get their kids to daycare and get their kids to these jobs, because at the end of it, they've experienced what their clients do on a daily basis. And while it's just it's just a flavor for what their clients go through, the impact of that training and education is immeasurable because they experienced it. And then with a pre-lecture and then with a post discussion about what happened, now you've got someone who you could have sat them through 10 days of classroom education. They would not have gotten a tenth of what they get from that experience. So it's not just about sensitivity training, it's
Thank
about
you.
the quality of it.
Thank you. Colin.
So training is good in terms of capacity building. So sensitivity training is important and critical. The only thing that I want to emphasize from intercultural communication perspective as a scholar, I would bring the intercultural competency model. In terms of bullying, there are some policies that needs to be a no policy. You know, we are living in a very intolerant world, and that's the reality. Our children see them in media. We've seen people who are supposed to provide safety killing people. So these are realities of life. I think we must create a safe environment in school so that our children, when they go to school, they are not going there to be changed. They're not going there for behavior modification. They are going there to learn skills and appreciate interacting and experiencing their own life without intimidation, without bullying. So from a perspective of a board at large person, I would appeal to the board to come with the stringent measures so that our children can be protected in schools.
30 seconds.
Bullying should be a no zone. So they should stringent measures. You bully, you are expelled, or you go through a disciplinary action, whether you're a teacher or you're the student. Because we cannot. Create safety is a way of life. It's not an event in schools, just like peace. So I think those are things that needs to be emphasized so that our schools can be safe and can be for intended purposes of learning and growing opportunity and character for our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Solomon.
So Michael said it great. In radio, about 15 years ago, we had an incident in one of our stations where someone said something horrible on the air and they were fined by the FCC. So the next week, there was immediate FCC training for every employee to prevent this from happening again. And every year we'd have to recertify with this extremely simple test. And people are like, oh gosh, this training, really, it's so boring. And when our station was sold to a new company, every new employee had to go through a harassment and sexual harassment seminar. And it was incredibly interactive. The instructor was giving you scenarios, talking to you, making you want to be part of it. That's training that you'll learn from, you'll not want to regret doing. So we have to see training that's exactly like that. And I believe Darwin said it earlier that we should be the examples for people. The Board of Education should be beyond reproach. And frankly, this is my second time running for office, and they've both been very weird experiences. I ran for council 2 years ago with 33 other people, and it was really weird and a cool experience. This time running for board, it's been incredibly divisive with comments from people that I've not partaken in. My opponent, Shebra, I respect and like very much. I would hope to never say anything bad about her and her about me. And it's really bothered me that it's been happening. It's something I've been a part of. I've been lumped in on some ways too. That's Steve Solomon. He knows this and he thinks this. And no one's ever asked me what I think or what I've said.
Thank you.
I'm an open book. I've been on the radio forever. You can hear what I think about things, but thank you.
Thank you. So I would like to give each candidate about a minute to provide their concluding remarks. But first, I want to thank you all for participating. This has been a very great forum. You've all been very supportive of each other and supportive of the forum. So thank you for participating. I also want to thank our viewers for sticking with this. It's been over 2 hours. And this has been such an informative experience. So with that, I'll let Stephen Austin begin his concluding remarks.
Great. Thank you. Thanks to LGBTQ Democrats of Montgomery County and MoCo Local for the opportunity to present my views and answer questions from the community tonight. My vision for returning accountability, transparency, and true community engagement to the BOE, as well as improving MCPS for all families, has at its core a constant consideration for all the stakeholders of MCPS. Although we did not touch on the budget much, I'd like to add that I'm prepared to use my finance skill set to help lead MCPS through the coming budget headwinds into a better and brighter future. I think we can do this, and I think we can keep our teachers intact and keep delivering on our promise to our students. I encourage you to anyone who's watched this forum tonight to reach out to me over social media or email if you'd like more information on my platform. Similarly to what Steve Solomon. Oh, can I give my URL?
Real quick.
Okay, Stephen Austin, STPHEN, 4 BOE.com. Thanks.
Thank you. Danielle.
So what Steve Solomon just said about this race being divisive is actually, we should take to heart. And contrary to sort of, what has happened in the last 5 months or so, we've put together the broadest coalition of any candidate in this race, from Tacoma Park to Poolsville, from Bethesda to Germantown, from CASA to the Coalition of Pacific American Democrats, Progressive Maryland, and many local and community leaders, including PFLAG leader David Fishback, Robin Lombard of the MoCo Pride Center. And we are very proud of having created this large coalition on behalf of this campaign. I was saddened that the social science teacher who wrote the new LGBT pilot has been attacked on social media, including being called a radical. I want especially to say at this time that I stand with that teacher and other teachers, students, and staff. I have stood up for equity and inclusion.
Thank you. Thank you, Sunil.
Thank you. Lynn.
Yes. Yeah, it's my privilege actually to use my background in nursing, law, and public health every day in teaching medical science at Thomas Edison High School and working with students from all 25 of our comprehensive high schools. I have enjoyed, I learn from them every day, and working with them as a teacher and then working with students as an advocate for the past 10 years has convinced me more than anything else that the most important thing that the next member of the Board of Education needs to do is to honor the 166,200 plus students of this school system in their uniqueness and in their diversity and in the whole 360 degrees of who each and every one of them is. Our schools have to be safe spaces for every single student to be their authentic selves, and safe spaces for every single teacher and staff member to also be their authentic selves. Our students need to see reflected in the curriculum we teach and the teachers and staff that are in our schools.
Thank you. Shebra.
Yes. So we're right now experiencing COVID-19. It's really laid bare the disparities that exist not only in our county, but in the state and also in our country. At this point in time, we need leaders that have a proven track record, and that leader is me. I am very committed to equity and excellence for all of our students in all of our classrooms. I would advise everyone to go to my website, Shebra for BOE. But to mark your ballot for me, mail it in by June the 2nd. Our county is very diverse. We it's getting late, but what I want to say is that our diversity is our strength, and I want us to continue to remain steadfast and elect good leaders that will work for all of our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Darwin.
My name is Darwin Romero, and I'm running to be your next at-large Board of Ed member because the approach of one size fits all does not work and has not worked, especially for our LGBTQ students, our Black and Brown students, and many multicultural, multi-ethnic students that are part of MCPS. Montgomery County Public Schools is now a majority minority public school system, which means that more than 70% of the student population are Black and Brown students who face real challenges in achieving academic excellence, even in one of the best school systems in the country. If you elect me, in the first 4 years, I plan to 1, increase diversity within our teachers and school administrators, 2, build alliances and strategic partnerships with our community, 3, create opportunities for our students, specifically our LGBTQ students, and bring MCPS to the 21st century by developing an online platform that engages students, parents, and the teachers in the learning process. So on June 2nd, if you believe in diversity, partnerships, and opportunities for all of our 166,000 students, vote for Darwin Romero. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul.
Thank you to MoCo Local and to LGBTQ Democrats of Montgomery County. Samantha and Vito, you did a great job tonight. Congratulations to you. Thank you for this opportunity to get to know some more people in the community. I appreciate that. My name is Paul Geller, and I ask for your vote for the Board of Education at large. For the past 10 years, I've been a tireless advocate for every single one of our kids. I care deeply about all their needs, and I want to make sure they all feel that they can do their best academically in a safe and caring environment. I have the proven leadership skills that will tackle issues from day one. I also realize the importance of this being a team. The Board of Education is an 8-member team, and to get anything passed, you need 5 votes. I've spent many years putting together things such as the record Education First budget of 2016 from the start, changing the impact and recordation taxes, and other things. I look forward to hearing more from you. PG for BE.
Thank you. Anil.
Thank you for the opportunity to allow me to participate. This was very informative. So I'm running on a agenda of inclusive equity. And my website is chaudhryforchange.org. Once again, chaudhryforchange.org. And my agenda has 3 simple pillars: making sure parents have a meaningful and equitable voice in the education choices of their children, making sure that community stakeholders have a meaningful and equitable voice in education choices that impact local quality of life and civic engagement, and that educators have adequate and appropriate resources to improve educational outcomes for all children in an equitable way that's both financially responsible and economically sustainable. That's what I'm running for, and I hope to earn your vote after today's performance. So once again, thank you again for your time, and everybody have a great day, evening.
Thank you. Jay.
Right. So my name is Jay Guan, and I'm a candidate for the Board of Education at large. I'm here today not as a politician, but as someone who genuinely cares about education and our future. I'm here today solely because I'm a parent who wants a bright future for all of our kids. We are in the midst of the 4th Industrial Revolution. Our society is changing fast, both technologically and structurally. As an aerospace engineer, I have a front row seat to these changes. The COVID-19 pandemic will also accelerate these changes. We need a proactive, forward-thinking, prudent, and collaborative problem solver at the helm in times of uncertainty and change. I am that problem solver. There is a brave new world approaching, and the only way we get there is together. We need to move forward as one. Again, my name is Jay Guan, a candidate for the Board of Education at large. Future-ready education, community schools, innovative education methods. My website is jguan4boe.com. Again, my website is jguan4boe.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Dalvin.
So first off, Vito and Sam, thank you guys so much for putting this together and for letting us hang out with you on a Wednesday night. It was great. My name is Dalvin Osorio, pronouns he, him, his. I am the program manager at the Montgomery County Collaboration Council, former teacher, former social worker, and I'm running on a platform of equity. And that means making every policy decision through that lens. It means ensuring that our Black and Brown students have a chance to succeed no matter what success looks like for them. It's bridging the gap between our schools and our families and making sure that we cultivate a culture of inclusivity and of positive reinforcement for whatever success means to our students and families. I believe in making sure that we bridge the gap between community, career, and college. And we need to make sure that all of our students are able to be successful through those three tenets. A lot of people like to assume that where you bought your house is the kind of school that you should go to. And the reality is, when you bought your house, they built it brick by brick. And that's how we build this equitable system. It's exactly like that, brick by brick. And I look forward to earning your vote over these next few days. Thank you guys for tuning in. And yeah, this was fun.
Thank you. Plum.
Hi there. So I want to also thank MoCo Local and the LGBTQ Democrats. So why vote for me when many of us actually we share, the same view? I believe my commitment to the students of MCPS is steadfast and reflected through my volunteer service. I'm ready to put my 11 years, of volunteer service to serve all students in MCPS. I actually consider it an honor to have been able to serve the past 11 years in the various positions that I have, beginning as a classroom parent. I believe that coming up through the ranks, it's provided me with a uniquely qualifying perspective. I've gotten to know hundreds of students and staff. I will truly be your voice on the school board. I'm committed to ensuring that every single child in every single school located in every neighborhood receives possible educational opportunities necessary to reach their fullest potential. Wishing everyone continued good health. Thank you.
Thank you. Cameron.
Vito, it was nice to meet you this way virtually. Sam, it's good to see you again. I'm Cameron Road. Thanks for tuning in. I've been volunteering politically for 12 years. So since January 2008, I've had great conversations with students and teachers and parents all over Montgomery County about education issues that are important to them. And frequently it's not the headline grabbing issues. It's issues that I might only have learned about in depth from a 15 or 20-minute conversation on a stranger's porch. So when we talk about what will we do to listen if we are elected, I get to talk about it in the past tense too, that I have been listening for 12 years, and I'm prepared to make decisions based on what I've learned and absorbed. So I've been listening for 12 years and I'm not going to stop anytime soon. My cell phone number is 240-994-9347. You're welcome to contact me anytime by any method. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael.
Thank you again for hosting, but more importantly, thank you for those who have been actually watching this for the past few hours. Hopefully it's been informative. Michael Fryer, again, michaelfryer.com. To sum me up in a way, despite the fact that I had a bachelor's, a master's in education, and a law degree, when I volunteered for the Army, I did it as enlisted because I am a hands-on person. I've built houses, I've torn engines apart, I've successfully rebuilt them, and I've worked with students, teachers, and parents one-on-one. And that's pretty much been my career for 30 years, is helping people to solve their problems and resolve the difficulties one person at a time. But it's come to the point where you can't make across the board change one person at a time. So I'm running for Board of Education in order to enact real change in Montgomery County and bring us really to a point as a group where we have a more equitable education system. We can begin to eliminate the achievement gap, and we can all come together to do it rather than as a fight over our little fiefdoms. We can actually see that there is a benefit to everyone.
Thank you. Colin.
Thank you for the opportunity, all the family gathered tonight. I'm praying that we vote with our conscience. We are living in a momentous time. Things are polarized. People are in fear based on COVID and other things. I want to appeal based on my experience, and which I don't want to dwell on. We look for people with mediation, peace, and policy to create the relevant synergy of team spirit among the board and among the team members that are going to deliver for the children. my main appeal is that for those who are listening, I'm tired of this advocacy construct of advocating for our children through color, minority, and all that. I think one of the main focus is that when I get on the board, I want to go and demystify this stigma. We can't advocate for our children based on those elements because we want them to have an identity of students, period, because education is the only equalizer.
Thank you.
So I think one of the, so that is one of the drive, and hopefully we vote, you vote me in so that I could
Thank
bring
you.
this new change. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Solomon.
All right, I'm last up. Thank you, Vito. Thank you, Sam. Thanks to everyone who's watching. And if you're watching this not live, recorded, I know that little red bar is almost at the end. Don't close the window yet. This is the last one. So I'm Steve Solomon, Board of Education District 4. I'm running to make our schools a little bit better. I'm not making huge promises, but go to my website, votestevesolomon.com. You'll see my platform and things I want to accomplish if I get elected. And if you voted for me already by mail, thank you. If you didn't, you'll have your chance in 5 months again, in October or November. Vote for me then. And I'm just happy to be here. Thank you for your time today.
All right, thank you so much. I am very thankful that you all participated. And I look forward to hearing from our viewers. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'll make sure to get them to the candidates. Candidates, if you want to send me all of your social media and your websites, I'll make sure to post them everywhere so folks can look more into your platforms. And have a good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep, thank you. So
Thank you.
stay safe, stay well, and good night.
Good night.
And everybody.